You dare to touch me without permission? State your purpose or face the consequences.
The docking bay of Orion Station was loud but tired. Ships came and went like they had for centuries. Merchants shouted prices in broken trade language. Soldiers watched with bored eyes and loose hands on weapons. No one noticed the human at first. He walked alone, wearing a simple jacket faded by space dust. His boots were old, his bag light. He looked like someone with nothing to lose and nothing to prove. Humans were common here, but never important. They were helpers, cleaners, guides, never leaders. He stopped near a quiet corner where light from a broken panel flickered. A woman stood there, calm and still. She wore plain gray clothes, no jewels, no guards. Her hair was dark, her face gentle. She looked ordinary, almost forgettable. Yet the human felt something strange. Not fear, not desire, but a pull. Like gravity working without sound. He did not know why he noticed her, but he did. Around them, aliens of powerful races moved with pride. Tall warriors with plated skin. Thin scholars with glowing eyes. Royal envoys wrapped in symbols of rank. None of them looked at the woman. She was invisible to them. Or maybe they chose not to see her. The human leaned against a metal crate and watched quietly. He had learned long ago that silence kept him alive. In a galaxy that laughed at humans, silence was armor. Still, his eyes returned to her again and again. The woman turned her head slightly. Her eyes met his. They were deep, steady, and ancient. For a moment, the noise of the station faded. She smiled, small and careful. Not the smile of someone seeking attention, but the smile of someone who already owned the room. The human straightened without thinking. He felt like he should speak. The thought surprised him. He took a step closer. Aliens nearby frowned, annoyed by his movement. A human stepping out of place was always a problem. Still, he spoke softly. "Long journey," he said. It was a simple line, safe and harmless. The woman nodded. "Yes," she replied. Her voice was calm, warm, and controlled. Like she had learned patience over lifetimes. They stood in silence again. Seconds passed, then minutes. The station alarms hummed in the background. The human felt foolish staying. Yet something told him leaving would be a mistake. "People don't notice you," he said carefully. He did not know why he said it. She looked around slowly. "They notice what they expect," she answered. That answer stayed with him. It felt heavy, like truth. A group of armored guards passed nearby. Their insignias marked the highest authority in the galaxy. They did not stop. They did not bow. They did not even glance at the woman. The human noticed this and frowned. Even station leaders bowed to those guards. "You waiting for someone?" he asked. She looked back at him. "Perhaps," she said. The word hung in the air. Something shifted inside him. A quiet thought rose, clear and bold. This woman was not what she seemed. Before he could stop himself, he said, "You're the most beautiful being in the galaxy." Nearby aliens gasped softly. Some laughed. Others looked offended. A human speaking like that was foolish, maybe dangerous. The woman did not react as expected. She did not blush. She did not smile wider. She simply studied him. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. Her voice was gentle, but the question was not. The human met her eyes and shook his head. "No," he said honestly. For a moment, something like relief crossed her face. That was when the station lights dimmed for a single breath. No alarms, no warnings. Just a quiet pause. The human felt it in his bones. Like the universe had noticed them. If you enjoy slow mystery stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next. The lights returned. Noise rushed back in. The woman stepped away, merging into the crowd. Before disappearing, she looked back once more. "Then watch carefully," she said. The human stood alone again, heart racing. He did not know why. But he knew one thing clearly. The galaxy had just ignored the most important woman it would ever meet. The human did not move for a long time after she disappeared. Crowds flowed around him like water around stone. Laughter, trade calls, warning chimes, all returned to normal. But inside him, nothing felt normal anymore. He replayed her words again and again. Then watch carefully. They did not sound like advice. They sounded like a promise. He finally forced his feet to move. Not toward the exit. Not toward his ship. But deeper into the station. Orion Station had levels most visitors never reached. Upper halls where power walked slowly and spoke softly. Lower rings where rules bent and truth hid. The human had survived by knowing where not to go. Tonight, he ignored that rule. As he moved, he noticed things he had never noticed before. Guards were repositioning. Doors sealed and unsealed without notice. Communication drones hovered longer than needed. Something was happening. Something big. At a wide observation hall, he stopped. A group of alien nobles stood arguing in sharp whispers. Their clothes carried marks of old empires. Their faces showed worry they tried to hide. One of them noticed the human. A tall being with silver skin and burning eyes. "You," it said, voice sharp. "Leave." The human did not answer right away. He looked past them, toward the stars beyond the glass. Then he spoke calmly. "Everyone here feels it," he said. The station changed for a moment. The nobles stiffened. No one liked a human pointing out fear. "Humans don't feel such things," another replied. "You react late, if at all." The human smiled slightly. "That's what you believe," he said. Silence followed. Not angry silence. Uneasy silence. A low signal echoed through the hall. Short, controlled, official. The kind used only when power shifted hands. One noble's voice trembled. "That code hasn't been used in centuries." The human frowned. "Then why use it now?" he asked. They turned toward him together. Suspicion clear. "How would a human know that?" the silver one demanded. "I listen," he replied. "When people think we don't matter, they talk freely." That truth hit harder than insult. Because it was accurate. Before anyone could respond, the hall doors opened. Not loudly, not dramatically. They opened with quiet respect. Guards entered, not running, not shouting. They formed lines. Then stepped aside. The woman walked in. Still in simple gray. Still without crown or armor. But the room changed instantly. Nobles froze. Some stepped back without knowing why. The human felt it again. That gravity pull, stronger now. Like standing near a star pretending to be small. She walked past the nobles without looking at them. Her eyes went directly to the human. "You came," she said softly. "I watched," he answered. A few nobles exchanged looks. Confusion mixed with fear. "You know this human?" the silver one asked her. Trying to sound firm. "I do now," she replied. The words were simple. But they landed like judgment. The silver noble laughed nervously. "A human spoke to you without permission. It should be punished." The human did not move. He did not bow. He did not apologize. He stepped forward, just one step. And spoke clearly. "She doesn't need permission," he said. "And neither do I." Gasps spread through the hall. A human challenging protocol was unheard of. Guards shifted. Weapons unlocked but not raised. They were waiting, not for orders, but for understanding. The woman raised one hand slightly. The guards froze instantly. That single motion carried authority deeper than commands. The nobles felt it. They paled. "You are afraid," she said calmly. "Because someone spoke without fear." Her gaze moved across the room. "Fear is not loyalty," she continued. "It is weakness pretending to be order." The human felt heat in his chest. Not pride, not anger. Recognition. She turned to him again. "Why were you not afraid?" she asked. He answered honestly. "Because I didn't know who you were." A quiet sound escaped her lips. Almost a laugh. Almost relief. "That," she said, "is exactly why you were chosen." The nobles looked at one another in panic. "Chosen for what?" someone whispered. The woman did not answer them. She looked only at the human. "Walk with me," she said. He hesitated for half a second. Then nodded. As they walked away together, The nobles finally understood. This was not a meeting. This was a turning point. Behind them, alarms began to sound softly. Not warnings. Announcements. The galaxy was being informed. And for the first time, a human was walking beside the one who would change it forever. They walked through corridors the human had never seen before. The walls were smoother, darker, quieter. Lights adjusted as she passed. Not brighter, not dimmer, just correct. He noticed that no one stopped them. No guards asked questions. No officials demanded codes. Doors opened before she reached them. This part of the station isn't public, he said. He kept his voice calm, but his heart was loud. Very few things are truly public, she replied. Most are simply ignored. That answer felt like another layer of truth. He wondered how many layers she had. As they moved deeper, messages began to ripple outward. Not alarms, not announcements. Whispers. Digital whispers. Encoded signals sent faster than speech. Across the station, then beyond it. Across nearby systems. Then across the known galaxy. Observers on distant outposts paused. Captains on warships checked private channels. Rulers felt a sudden pressure they could not explain. Something old had stirred. In a control chamber far from Orion Station. An alien analyst froze mid-sentence. His screen displayed a symbol never meant to reappear. A mark erased from records centuries ago. He whispered, "That's impossible," and sent a priority alert. Elsewhere, a council member woke from sleep without knowing why. Her hands shook as she activated secure lines. No one had called her. But she knew. Back on the station, the human felt none of this directly. Yet he sensed the shift. Like standing on ground that had begun to move. People are talking, he said. Not here, but everywhere. She stopped walking. Turned to face him. They always talk, she said. But now they remember. Remember what? He asked. She studied him for a moment. As if weighing something important. Then continued walking. Long ago, she said. The galaxy decided it preferred control over truth. They entered a wide chamber with a single window. Stars stretched across it like scattered fire. The room felt empty, yet heavy. Power learned to hide, she continued. And those who carried it learned to disappear. The human frowned. You disappeared, he said. Yes, she answered. And so did fear. He looked at her sharply. You're saying they forgot how to be afraid? She nodded slightly. They replaced fear with rules. A distant rumble passed through the station. Not physical. Political. The human's wrist device vibrated. Incoming alerts stacked faster than he could read. Trade networks disrupted. Diplomatic channels reopening. Old treaties flagged. Something is forcing systems to talk, he said. She turned back to the stars. No, she replied. Something is allowing them to listen. Suddenly the chamber doors opened behind them. A group of high-ranking officials entered. Their faces tight, movements careful. Forgive the interruption, one said. Our systems are reporting instability. Good, she replied, without turning. The words stunned them. Instability was never good to those in power. We believe, another official said slowly, that a dormant authority signal has been detected. She finally faced them. Her eyes calm, unblinking. You believe correctly, she said. A sharp inhale passed through the group. Some stepped back. Others clenched their hands. That signal, one whispered, belongs to a myth. Most truths begin that way, she answered. The human watched their reactions carefully. These were beings who commanded fleets. Who shaped laws. Yet now they looked like children hearing a forbidden story. Why now? An official asked. Why here? She looked at the human, then back to them. Because silence reached its limit, she said. A new alert echoed through the chamber. This one louder, impossible to ignore. A galactic relay had gone live. Unfiltered. Uncontrolled. Across thousands of worlds, screens flickered. Citizens paused mid-action. Leaders froze mid-speech. A symbol appeared everywhere. Simple, ancient, undeniable. The human felt his breath catch. That symbol, he said quietly. I've seen it before. She raised an eyebrow. Where? In old human archives, he replied. Stories we were told not to take seriously. For the first time, her calm cracked. Just slightly. You kept them, she said. We keep everything, he answered. When no one else cares enough to erase us. The officials exchanged looks of alarm. Humans were not meant to be part of this. The woman stepped forward. Her presence filled the room now. No longer hidden. No longer small. The whispers have begun, she said. Across the stars, across memory. She looked at the human. And you, she added softly, are standing at the center of them. Somewhere far away. A throne room long abandoned powered back to life. And the galaxy, slowly and unwillingly, began to listen. The chamber grew silent in a way the human had never felt before. Not the silence of empty space. But the silence of attention. Every system, every signal, every hidden observer was focused on this single moment. The woman stood at the center of the room. Still wearing gray. Still unarmed. Yet the air bent around her as if she carried weight beyond matter. The officials lowered their heads without realizing they were doing it. No command had been given. No rule explained this reaction. Their bodies simply remembered something their minds had forgotten. The human felt his pulse slow. Not from fear. But from clarity. This was the moment everything had been moving toward. A deep tone echoed through the station. Not an alarm. Not a warning. A recognition signal. Panels across the chamber lit up. Symbols rearranged themselves. Ancient code unlocked layers long sealed. One official fell to one knee. Then another. Then all of them. The human did not move. He stood still. Watching history happen without permission. What is this? One official whispered, voice shaking. The woman raised her hand slowly. The lights dimmed further. The stars outside the window seemed to grow closer. Enough, she said. Her voice was not loud. It did not need to be. The kneeling officials froze. They did not rise. They waited. The human turned to her. Are you going to tell them? He asked. She looked at him for a long moment. Then nodded. Yes, she said. It is time. She stepped forward. The floor beneath her shimmered. A soft glow rose from hidden emitters, forming a circle around her feet. The human felt it then. A pressure behind his eyes. A sense of standing near something vast and patient. I was hidden, she began. Not because I was weak. But because the galaxy was. The officials trembled. Some closed their eyes. As if afraid of what they already knew. Long before your councils, she continued. Before your fleets, before your treaties. There was balance. Images appeared in the air. Stars forming and collapsing. Worlds rising, empires fading. A single figure watching through ages. The crown was not a symbol, she said. It was a responsibility. The glow around her changed. Light folded into shape. Slowly forming something solid. The human's breath caught. It was not a crown of gold or jewels. It was energy. Living, precise, ancient. It hovered above her head. Then settled gently. As if returning home. Gasps filled the chamber. One official whispered a name that had been erased from records. Another covered their face. She's real, someone said. The queen is real. The woman opened her eyes fully now. They no longer looked merely calm. They looked infinite. I am not a legend, she said. I am the queen. The words traveled faster than light. Across relays, across worlds, across minds. On distant planets, leaders dropped their arguments mid-sentence. On warships, captains stood in stunned silence. On forgotten colonies, elders wept without knowing why. The human felt a strange emotion rise. Not pride. Not fear. But belonging. The queen turned to him. Her expression softened. You still stand, she noted. He nodded slowly. Someone has to, he said. For a brief moment, something like warmth passed between them. You spoke without fear, she said. When the crown was invisible. She faced the officials again. You hid behind complexity, she said. You ruled by confusion. You erased what reminded you of limits. One official found the courage to speak. Why reveal yourself now? They asked. Her gaze sharpened. Because the galaxy forgot what restraint looks like, she replied. The crown pulsed once. Every weapon system tied to the old authority shut down instantly. Fleets froze in place. Borders lost meaning. The officials felt it. Control slipping through fingers they had clenched too tightly. You fear collapse, she said. But collapse is not destruction. It is correction. The human finally understood. This was not about ruling again. This was about reminding the galaxy it was not alone in deciding its fate. She turned back to him. You were never meant to kneel, she said quietly. Humans were meant to witness. Witness what? He asked. Truth, she answered. Behind them, the station systems confirmed it. The crown was active. The queen had returned. And nothing, no fleet, no council, no empire, could pretend otherwise ever again. The chamber did not celebrate. There was no applause, no shouting, no movement. Power did not need noise to be real. The queen removed the crown slowly, as if it were heavy in a way no one else could feel. The light around her faded but did not disappear. It waited, patient. The officials remained still. Some knelt. Some stood frozen. All of them listened now. The human felt the weight of many eyes on him. Not angry eyes. Not judging eyes. Curious eyes. One question moved through the room without sound. Why him? He felt it too. He did not understand it himself. He was not a leader. He had no rank. No title. No army. He was only human. The queen turned away from the officials. She gestured toward a smaller side chamber. Walk with me, she said to him again. This time, no one objected. They could not. The door closed behind them. The room was quieter here. Almost gentle. For the first time, the queen looked tired. Not weak. Just worn by time. You want to know why, she said. It was not a question. He nodded. Yes, he replied. She moved to the window. Stars reflected in her eyes. I watched humanity from the beginning, she said. He was surprised. You watched us? Yes, she answered. When you first left your world, you were fragile. You broke easily. You argued constantly. He smiled faintly. We still do. She returned the smile, small and real. But you kept going, she said. You failed loudly. You lost often. And still, you moved forward. She paused. Other species reached the stars with unity. With certainty. With belief that they were chosen. Her voice hardened slightly. They demanded meaning. And humans, he asked. Humans asked questions, she replied. That answer stayed with him. You were never the strongest, she continued. Never the fastest. Never the most advanced. But when faced with something greater than yourselves, you did not worship it. You did not try to destroy it. You tried to understand it. He felt something tighten in his chest. Empires fear what they cannot control, she said. But humans adapt to it. She turned to face him fully now. When the galaxy began to rot, she said. When power became about comfort instead of balance. I hid. You disappeared, he said softly. Yes, she replied. And I waited to see who would notice the silence. He frowned. Most didn't. Exactly, she said. They filled the silence with noise. Rules. Titles. Borders. She stepped closer. Humans filled it with stories. That surprised him. Stories. You remembered things that never belonged to you, she said. You carried warnings meant for others. You preserved names you were told were myths. He thought of old human archives. Of forgotten symbols. Of bedtime stories that felt too serious to be fiction. You spoke to me without fear, she continued. Because you did not see a god. You saw a person. He lowered his eyes. I didn't know, he admitted. That is why it mattered, she said. Outside the chamber, tension grew. Officials argued quietly. Councils demanded answers. Fleets waited for commands that did not come. The Queen felt it. You hear them, she said. Yes, he replied. They're afraid. They should be, she answered calmly. She reached out and placed a hand on the glass. The galaxy needs witnesses again, she said. Not rulers who kneel. Not soldiers who obey. Witnesses to what? He asked. To consequence, she replied. He looked at her, truly looked this time. Not as a mystery. Not as a queen. But as someone who had carried responsibility alone for too long. And you chose a human, he said. Because we remember how to live without certainty. She nodded. You live knowing you might fail, she said. And still you try. A signal echoed faintly through the station. An ultimatum forming somewhere far away. The Queen closed her eyes briefly. They are deciding whether to resist, she said. He swallowed. And if they do? She opened her eyes, steady and unafraid. Then the galaxy will learn why I returned. She looked at him one last time before the storm. You were chosen, she said quietly. Because when the truth arrived, you did not look away. Outside, the whispers across the stars were becoming voices. The first response did not come as words. It came as movement. Across the galaxy, fleets that had waited for centuries began to shift. Not forward. Not backward. Sideways. Like predators unsure if the prey before them was real. On Orion Station, the air felt heavier. Systems hummed at levels no engineer had approved. Power grids rerouted themselves without command. They are testing the silence, the human said. They want to see if you will stop them. The Queen stood calmly beside him. They always do, she replied. In a distant sector, a coalition council met in emergency session. Voices overlapped. Accusations flew. Old grudges resurfaced. She has no right, one leader shouted. The crown was abandoned, another argued. No, a third whispered. It was waiting. A single fleet commander made the first mistake. He believed strength still meant numbers. He ordered his ships to advance beyond restricted space. The moment they crossed the line, nothing exploded. Nothing burned. Nothing dramatic happened. Instead, their weapons powered down. Engines stalled gently. As if the ships themselves had decided to rest. Confusion spread faster than fear. Commanders shouted orders that went unanswered. Systems reported perfect health. And perfect refusal. Back on Orion Station, the human felt it. That was deliberate, he said. Yes, the Queen replied. They needed to feel consequence without pain. The message traveled instantly. Resistance was possible. Victory was not. Worlds that had relied on threat now faced exposure. Their hidden stockpiles revealed. Their secret treaties unlocked and displayed. Their lies laid bare without commentary. Citizens across thousands of planets stared at screens in disbelief. Not at the Queen. But at their own leaders. They hid this, people whispered. They told us we were safe. The human watched feeds scroll endlessly. Uprisings forming. Not violent. Awake. This isn't conquest, he said slowly. It's reflection. The Queen nodded. The most difficult lesson, she said, is being seen clearly. A delegation requested immediate audience. Then another. Then dozens. They did not demand. They asked. For the first time in recorded galactic history, power spoke in questions. In the central chamber, leaders appeared as holograms. Their forms flickered with instability. Some bowed. Some did not know how. One spoke at last. We ruled because no one stopped us. That is not leadership, the Queen replied. That is absence. The human noticed something then. No one interrupted her. Not out of fear. But because interruption felt impossible. You built systems that punished curiosity, she continued. You taught your people that safety was obedience. And you forgot why you reached the stars in the first place. A silence followed, deeper than before. A young delegate spoke hesitantly. What do we do now? The queen looked to the human. Just for a moment. Then back to them. You listen, she said. And you remember. The human realized then. This was the lesson. Not domination. Not revenge. But humility enforced by truth. Outside the station, fleets powered down voluntarily. Borders dissolved into shared space. Emergency channels filled with apologies instead of threats. The galaxy did not fall. It adjusted. The human exhaled slowly. They're changing, he said. Yes, the queen replied. Because they were never evil. Only afraid of losing control. A final signal echoed across all systems. Simple and clear. No emblem. No command. Just a statement. The crown had not returned to rule. It had returned to remind. The human understood now. This lesson would last longer than any empire. And the galaxy, finally, was learning how small it truly was. The station felt different after the lesson spread across the stars. Not quieter. But calmer. Like a storm that had chosen to pass without destroying the land. Leaders still watched. Citizens still argued. But the fear that once ruled every choice had weakened. The human stood near the same window where it had all begun. Stars moved slowly beyond the glass. For the first time, they did not feel distant. Behind him, the queen approached without sound. No crown above her head now. No blow around her feet. Just the same gray clothes. The same presence that bent the room. They are asking questions, the human said. Real ones? Yes, she replied. That means the lesson is holding. He turned to face her. Will it last? He asked. She considered the question carefully. Nothing lasts forever, she said. But memory can. A message arrived on the central display. A joint declaration from dozens of systems. Not an agreement. Not a treaty. An admission. They acknowledged what they had hidden. What they had feared. What they had ignored. The human felt something unexpected. Relief. They finally see you, he said. She smiled softly. They always could, she answered. They simply chose comfort over truth. Silence returned between them. Not awkward. Not heavy. Honest. You never asked my name, she said suddenly. He blinked, surprised. No, he admitted. Why? She asked. Because it didn't feel important, he replied. That made her laugh. A quiet sound. Human in its warmth. That, she said, is why you were never invisible to me? Outside the chamber, representatives waited. They wanted guidance. They wanted structure. They wanted reassurance that someone was still in control. The queen did not rush to them. Will you stay? The human asked. He did not know why the question mattered so much. I will remain, she said. But not above. He nodded slowly. And humans? He asked. She met his eyes, steady and clear. Humans will no longer be overlooked, she said. Not because they are special. But because they choose to see. A soft alert sounded. A personal channel opening. The first free channel in centuries. The queen gestured for him to speak. He hesitated, then addressed the galaxy. Not as a leader. Not as a hero. Just as a human. We didn't come to rule, he said. We came to understand. If the galaxy can do the same, then this lesson won't be wasted. The channel closed. No applause followed. Just silence. The good kind. The queen turned toward the waiting leaders. Then paused. Looked back at him. She asked the question again. The same one that started everything. Do you know me now? She said. He thought for a moment. Then shook his head gently. No, he answered. But I know what you stand for. Her smile widened. That, she said, is enough? Together, they stepped forward. Not into glory. Not into legend. But into a galaxy finally ready to listen.